Hey everyone, Lucamus Prime here. So, it's time for the next episode of my series, Video Games That Didn't Need a Sequel. And this is more of like a follow-up in this franchise of games where, in my opinion, no follow-ups were needed in terms of whether it be like a prequel or a sequel or whatever. And this is for a game which is probably my favourite in this franchise of all time. And this franchise is one of my favourites of all time as well, and one from my childhood which I still love to this day. And this franchise, of course, involves robots in disguise. And this game, which in my opinion did not need any games after it, in my opinion, when it comes to, of course, the timeline of it, is none other than 2012's Transformers Fall of Cybertron. So, you guys probably going to ask me, of course, what are my thoughts on this game then. So, in my opinion, this is the greatest Transformers game of all time. I absolutely adore this game. It's one of those games that I was really hyped for when I was a kid. And when I played this game in 2012 on Xbox 360, I loved every second of it. It was definitely worth the hype, in my opinion. I have so many fond memories of playing it, and even when I replayed it, I still love it, because recently, of course, I got it on PS3, and my replay of it, I still love it on that, absolutely. Even as well, I think its predecessor, Transformers War of Cybertron, is also as well amazing as well, absolutely. Almost on an equal level, really, I must say, too. It's definitely, in my opinion, a great start to this, like, game franchise for Transformers. And I personally think that this was definitely a great way to wrap up the Transformers Cybertron story, of course, of the Transformers and Cybertron during the war, really. Because I think this game does a phenomenal job showing, of course, how the planet falls, and, of course, the Transformers leaving. Because at the end of the game, we get an absolutely epic final level, of course, taking place on the Ark, which is carrying away the Autobots from Cybertron, leaving it behind. But, of course, it's intercepted by Megatron's Nemesis ship, which is created, of course, from the body of Trypticon. And we get a really epic final battle on the ship, when, of course, the Nemesis boards the Ark and attaches to it. So, and you get to play lots of characters from both Autobots and Decepticons, which is epic and lots of fun to do. And Then after that, the game as well ends with an epic final fight between Optimus Prime and Megatron on the ship. After, of course, Megatron mortally wounds Bumblebee by shooting him with, of course, with a cannon, which was meant to be he shooting Optimus, but Bumblebee jumps him away. And you can choose to play as either Optimus or Megatron, but no matter what you choose, it doesn't, of course, change the ending of the game, because no matter, of course, who gets mortally wounded in the final fight, the ending is the same, where basically the vortex, of course, which the Ark is going through, ends up tearing the ship apart. And then both of the ships then fall through the vortex, and the vortex closes. So we can, of course, assume that they've travelled from, of course, the system Cybertron is in to the solar system, of course, where it, of course, encounter planet Earth. So from there, you can, of course, assume that the Transformers have now, of course, entered the solar system. And from then on, you can imagine them, of course, going to Earth, really. You can imagine whatever you want from that ending. And I personally think that was a perfect way to end the Cybertron games, in my opinion, right there. Simply because they're not even on Cybertron anymore, so why do any more? Seriously. So, as far as I'm concerned, for Cybertron is where we should have ended the storyline of the Transformers on Cybertron. But unfortunately, 2 years later, we got another installment of the Transformers games in this timeline, where basically it's a prequel to Fall of Cybertron, but it's also as well somehow a sequel to one of the Michael Bay movies. And that game, of course, is none other than Transformers Rise of the Darkspark. Oh my goodness. This is just what happens when, of course, a different company makes a Transformers game, which is supposed to be in the same continuity as this game, and FYI, it goes horribly wrong. So, I played that game on Xbox 360, and I was looking forward to it, because I thought it was interesting how it was going to involve, the Transformers Cybertron characters and the Michael Bay verse characters. But unfortunately, my hype that aged horrendously. Because I played the game, guys, and when I look back at it, I absolutely hate it. I think it's a terrible game, in my opinion. I mean, it may not be as bad as the 2003 G1 game, which is called the Transformers Call to the Future, because that game, in my opinion, looks absolutely abominable. It's definitely still better than that game called Transformers Battlegrounds, which I think also sucks as well, which is like a really bad strategy style game, which I think is rubbish. But it's still, in my opinion, a really bad game. Like, the only redeeming quality I could say is the voice cast still do their best as their characters, in my opinion. Especially, of course, my favourite voice actor of all time, Peter Cullen, who plays my favourite character of all time, Optimus Prime. The voice cast still try their best in the game, but my problems with Rise of Darkspark is that, in my opinion, its continuity makes zero sense. You're probably going to asking me, do the parts of Cybertron in the game save the game? Well, in my opinion, no. Because, I mean, first of all, the graphics also absolutely suck. Because in this game, right, the graphics for this game are absolutely stunning and gorgeous to look at. Just beautiful visuals for this game. Like, this game is 12 years old, and in my opinion, the graphics have aged phenomenally. Whereas with Rise of Darkspark, it has graphics that belong on the older generation of consoles in comparison. Like, what happened? This is a later game, 2 years after, and the graphics are absolutely terrible in comparison. Like, what happened? And also, as well, the continuity, of course, makes no sense in the Cybertron levels because it was never mentioned in this game that before the events of the game, the Transformers, of course, were fighting over the Dark Spark. It was never mentioned in this game at all. So that, in my opinion, makes no sense whatsoever. And not to mention, the graphics also really sucked too, so it just made the game just so hard to play because it was just hard to look at because it was so bad in my opinion. And then, when it comes as well to the parts in the Bayformers universe, that also, in my opinion, also sucked too. I mean, first of all, there's barely any characters you can play as. You can only play as Optimus, Bumblebee, Drift, and Lockdown. There's also part of the story mode where you do play it as Grimlock. But unfortunately, no other Bayformers Transformers, which really sucks. So, like, a massive missed opportunity right there. You have so many characters playable from the Cybertron era, but not from the Bayformers verse era. Like, come on. So, and not to mention, the story also makes zero sense because the game is supposed to be a sequel to Age of Extinction, the film, yet somehow Lockdown is still alive. But, like, I don't understand because at the end of Age of Extinction, his face got cut in half by Optimus. He was killed. So, how is he alive and well in this game? It makes absolutely zero sense. It's never even confirmed when the story takes place in Age of Extinction. It makes no sense whatsoever. And this is just why they should never have combined, this era of games with a Bayformers universe. Because it ends up making zero sense. And there is no way that Bayformers is connected to the Transformers Cybertron games. No way whatsoever. And I don't know why they had to do a sequel to this game in terms of, like, the same timeline as the Cybertron games. Like, they should have just done a game based on Age of Extinction because they've already done games based on the first 3 films. So, couldn't we have done, like, a game based on the entire Age of Extinction film? And I say this because, in my opinion, the games are better than the films are based on. The first 3 films, that is. So I was hoping this potential 4 game could have been better than Age of Extinction, but unfortunately we didn't get it, which really sucks. Because I imagine it would have been way better in comparison to the film. But, long story short, guys, to me, Force Cybertron should have been left as it was. It did not need any other games installed or whatsoever as far as I'm concerned to this franchise. No way whatsoever. And in my opinion, guys, it's the last great Transformers game. The other one I've liked since this game is probably Devastation, where it's based on G1, but I think that game is just okay, really. It's not the best Transformers game. This, to me, is the best, as far as I'm concerned. So, what I'll do is I'll keep replaying the old Transformers games that I have on PS3, because they're definitely really great to play. Like, of course, the game based on Michael Bay's first 3 films, and of course, these 2 games are just shown. But there's no way I'm ever going to get Rise of Darkspark, because what's appalling is, it's the first Transformers game to be released on 8th generation consoles, too. Like, that's how bad this whole situation is, guys. The first ever, like, Transformers game to be released on 8th generation consoles, and it's terrible. So, like, ouch. But, as far as I'm concerned, of course, to me, Force Cybertron is where they should have ended the Transformers games when it comes, of course, to a timeline taking place on Cybertron. That's my opinion. So, to me, covering why, in my opinion, Transformers Force Cybertron did not need another installment. So, you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to tell me in the comments what you guys think of Transformers Force Cybertron. Do you think you needed another game after it? Let me think in the comments below. Also, be sure to join Team Prime by pressing subscribe. Who's coming in the future. And till all are one.